Good afternoon. My name is Camille Licklider, and I'm the Executive Director for Gift Planning at Northwestern University. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome everybody to the inaugural Henry and Emma Rogers Society Luncheon. It is wonderful to have you here with us today. All of us at Northwestern are eternally grateful for the thousands of individuals who have included the university in their estate plans, whether you made a provision in a will or a trust, or set up one of those fun income-producing vehicles like a gift annuity or a remainder trust. Thanks to the generous support of and this is really great, 1,700 alumni, parents, and friends who belong to the Rogers Society, and 80 of you who just joined in the last year, since last May. But thanks to all of you, this university will have the resources to sustain its tradition of excellence for generations to come. So thank you. I wanted to share just a few statistics with you that really demonstrate the impact that you and your peers are making on the university. To date, we have confirmed more than $240 million in commitments that will support future initiatives. The largest existing bequest is valued at $15 million. All bequests are important, all of them, but the largest is $15 million. That's very important. And Northwestern currently has more than $69 million in life income gifts under management, those gift annuities and remainder trusts that I mentioned earlier. In addition, just in the last fiscal year, Northwestern donors have informed the university $40 million in new commitments, and has received nearly $44 million in cash as various bequests were realized. And of that $44 million, and this number is, I think, particularly exciting, $4.8 million was unrestricted. And as Provost Linzer and President Shapiro can tell you, having these unrestricted dollars is essential because it provides us with the flexibility to meet immediate needs and seize new opportunities. Once again, I want to offer my sincere thanks to all the members of the Henry and Emma Rogers Society who are here today. I'm very hopeful that today's event marks the beginning of a new tradition, and that I'll see all of you at future luncheons like this one for years to come. You will be hearing later today from President Shapiro, who we're delighted to have with us, and Ken Perello, one of our dedicated benefactors. Then that will be a little later this afternoon. Right now, I just invite you to enjoy your lunch and your conversation with your fellow Rogers Society members. Thank you. Hello once again. I hope everybody is enjoying their lunch. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the distinguished members of the Rogers Society. Ken Perello is a 1978 graduate of Northwestern's McCormick School of Engineering and Applied Science, and a 1982 graduate of the Kellogg School of Management. He is senior principal at Deloitte Consulting and serves his alma mater as a chairperson of the McCormick Advisory Council. Like you, Ken, along with his wife and Medill alumna, Sherry McFall, has demonstrated his strong commitment to Northwestern and its future by including Northwestern University in his estate plans. In fact, Ken is one of the 80 new members that I mentioned at the beginning of the program, and I am extremely grateful for his leadership and generosity. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ken Perello.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon. I was a little mortified during the reception. We ran into two of our tailgating friends, Payson and Linda Wild, knowing that probably in September I'll be asked to reprise this speech for our group after a few gin and tonics or Bloody Marys or something like that. But in any case, appreciate, Camille, your introduction and the opportunity to speak to you and to introduce President Shapiro. I first want to introduce my wife, Sherry McFall. Sherry, if you... Sherry and I are partners on this, and She actually had the opportunity to be up at the podium with me, but suggested that she would remain in her seat because we didn't think that the sight of a married couple hip-checking each other to get position on the mic would be very conducive to the ceremony. We were asked to talk about, I was asked to talk about two things. One was our decision to make a bequest to Northwestern, and two was to introduce the president and share some thoughts about Morty. And I'll try to do that in a timely way. First of all, with respect to our decision, this may disappoint a bit, but I'm not sure there was ever a decision per se. It was just always a given for us that Northwestern was part of our plans for philanthropy and for giving. And we never sat around and said, gosh, when we make out a will Northwestern be in it or not? It was always implicit that Northwestern was part of our plans. And so I thought, well, okay, if there was no decision, why is it that there wasn't a decision for us? Why has this been a given, if you will, from day one of leaving the university and starting to think about estate planning? And I think three things struck me. First one was the fact that Sherry and I met each other, fell in love at the university, started our romance at the university, and when you've got that kind of connection to the institution, it gives it a bit of an edge in terms of a call on your financial resources. Second is our careers. Northwestern was a wonderful launching pad for both of us for our careers, and the success that we have attained has been beyond anything we would have dreamed of, me growing up in the inner city in Cleveland and Sherry growing up in rural North Dakota. And so we feel indebted to the university for how it helped us professionally. But I think the third thing is the way that Northwestern has changed the way or shaped the way that we look at the world and how we relate to the world. And as Camille mentioned, I'm a partner with Deloitte & Touche, and we have people from all the top universities at our firm. I'm lucky to work with hundreds of people from our competitive universities. We have over 400 people from Northwestern alone, and so I can compare the Northwestern people and how they contrast to people from other top universities. And a couple things strike me about the Northwestern people that I work with and all of us here in this room together. The first thing is, I'll call it a breadth of vision about the world. That is an ability to see the good in people and to see the good in a wide variety of situations. And the ability to perceive beauty, if you will, in a variety of situations and in a variety of forms. I just find that Northwestern people have an ability to see into things and see the good in things that I think distinguishes us in a very positive way from other communities that I'm part of. It's a Renaissance quality, if you will. The second thing I would say is I think there is a humanism about the Northwestern community. There's something about spending the time here on campus and the culture that we have here and the faculty that we interact with that makes us care as people, makes us care about our fellow man and woman, that makes us care about making the world a better place. And I think it's also a distinguishing characteristic, and I think both of these characteristics, that breadth of vision and that humanism, are things that are worth preserving and are things that are worth amplifying in the future. And so we didn't think about it, but if we had thought about it, it would have been themes like that. I think they make the place unique and special. I'll comment that, the last thing I'll comment about our decision is that when we sat with some of the development staff who were supporting us, I said, well, we're going to make this provision in our state for Northwestern, and they said, that's wonderful. They said, what would you like to do with that, right? Is there a health issue that you would like to dedicate that to, or is there scholarships for students that you would like to fund as part of that? And we said, we actually haven't thought about it yet. Those are all great ideas, and they're all very inspiring, but we're not ready to commit yet. We will get around to that quite frankly, there's just too many other things that we deal with day to day now that we haven't put the thought into it yet. But we said, you know what? If we actually never get around to it, that'll be okay too, because we trust the institution to do the right thing with our funds. And so that makes us very popular with the development staff. Of course, probably part of the reason why I'm up here speaking today. I don't necessarily advocate all of you to do that, but I'll just tell you, as an expression of our faith in the institution, we sort of haven't gotten around to that, what do we want to do with it yet? And, truly, it's not a high priority for us right now because we trust the institution. So our thoughts about our personal decision. Let me give you a couple of remarks about President Shapiro, about Morty. A few things I would emphasize about Morty. One is that his popularity and leadership with students. I talked to a couple people who know him in preparation for this, and I said, geez, there some background on Morty that you think would be helpful to me and to share with the audience. And someone sent me to a website, I think it was called Glassdoor, that ran a poll with students of who were the most popular presidents. And Morty was the top-rated president amongst students in terms of a real student's president. And this is someone who the time that he dedicates to being with students, the sacrifices that he makes personally to be with students are legendary. And so this is a person who is first, for the students and recognized as such by our students and by his peers. Second is, I find him to be a great leader with his team. I have the opportunity, because of the role I play with Deloitte, to spend a fair amount of time on campus. I'm the lead partner for our activities at the university, which is recruiting, but also doing joint studies and doing projects together. And so I do have occasion to spend time with a number of the deans during the year. And what's interesting when you meet with the deans is each of them, in a different way, will convey to you that they really feel that they have a special relationship with Morty. Now, some of this, frankly, is the egos of the deans, that they all think that they're the special. But frankly, I think this mostly is a testament to Morty's leadership with the deans. And actually, Bob McQuinn and Sherry and I were speaking just before we seated for dinner, and Bob pointed out that Morty is one of the few college presidents, university presidents, who has served as a dean as part of his career, and that really, I think, gives him a special sensitivity to the position of the deans, who are crucial for the ongoing success and advancement of the university. The last thing I'll say about Morty is that he is a great thinker about the higher education, and particularly the economics of higher education. I've had an opportunity on 3 occasions now to hear him speak about higher education, the direction of higher education, the economics of higher education. Twice relatively brief remarks with the McCormick Advisory Council that I am part of. But more recently, about 2 months ago, he gave a more extensive speech at the City Club of Chicago. And I will tell you that listening to him has changed how I think about higher education and deepened how I think about higher education. I don't know what greater compliment I can give to someone in that I look at this part of the world differently for having had the opportunity to hear Morty's thoughts and insights about higher education. So we are, given we're at a momentous time, a time of great change in higher education, we're very lucky to have him here as president. He has been a great supporter of ours. I will say at McCormick we have some great plans at McCormick that we believe will be transformational for the school and can be transformational for the university also. And he's been a willing listener along with Provost Linzer and a great supporter of our plans, and we're most grateful for that. So I thank you for your attention today, and it's my pleasure to introduce Morty Shapiro. The
deans have egos. Who knew? I never noticed that. I never noticed that. It's so funny. Ken, that was a great speech and very kind words about me. I love when you said that you're going to do a version of this at a tailgate coming up in the fall, and you said after several, and I was going to say, football victories? No, gin and tonics. Okay. I forgot you were undergrads here. Of course, that's how you learn that. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying. There's Dan. Egos, right? Dan's like going, I never noticed. So Camille mentioned that this is the first, right, Bob, the first Rogers Society luncheon we've ever had, and she hopes that we have more. So do I. I mean, I think it's a great idea to do it. I hope you're enjoying the camaraderie and everything. We're having a great time. This is a working table, my table, because we have not just discussed how we can market ourselves more effectively globally in undergraduate and graduate professional admissions. We talked at length about football recruiting, basketball recruiting, all the great things that make a great university. And even the problem of the day, where we actually did a vote at my table, because you might know at 4 o'clock, Kelly and Monte Hiller's vaunted Warriors are facing University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill in Villanova, Pennsylvania, in the semifinals once again. And I filled them in. There's a little problem with the field. Remember when we played Illinois in that debacle nightmare at Wrigley a couple of years ago when the field wasn't? Well, they're having one of these problems right now. So we're trying to decide exactly how we handle that. So I've been getting really frantic calls on the minute from Jim Phillips. And they told me what to do, and I did it. So thank you. So I'm going to blame you all. I'm going to blame my table if we, in fact, walk off the field and refuse to play because of safety reasons, which is very much on the table now. But we'll see what happens. So it's a lot of reasons to do that, not just for us to get together, but also to celebrate your insight and foresight and generosity. As Camille pointed out, now 1,700 members of the Rogers Society, grew by 80 in just 1 year. I think we heard in this past academic year. I can't think of a better testimony to loyalty and investment in the Northwestern future than considering us the way you all have in your estate bequest plans. Camille pointed out there are a lot of different ways to do it, and many of you know more about that than I do. But what you've all decided to do is really, as Ken said, he used the word faith and trust, and that's truly remarkable. It really is remarkable. And as Camille pointed out, it's at all different levels. The Jim Russell, I think, was 15.7 million or so, and that's transformative for the Kellogg School of Management. But regularly we get bequests, and people do these incredibly generous statements about how they feel about Northwestern. Many of them have been undergraduate alums or graduate and professional alums. Some are parents. Some are faculty who are represented here. Some are staff who are represented here. Some are friends. Most of them are in more than one category. And again, it's a remarkable, humbling statement for someone who's so proud to be here as president of Northwestern, to be in a room with those of you who think so much of this beloved university that you want to invest in our future the way you have. As Ken pointed out, some of it's restricted. That's great. If you're giving of your wealth to the future, if you should feel great about how we're going to use it. Some, as so far for Ken and for Sherry, unrestricted. That's great too. But I think anyone who feels serious about making these kinds of investments in the future at Northwestern should feel really good about it. Camille alluded to the fact that the investment returns are really high here, so that's one thing. We have a proven record. I know you're supposed to say that future returns, past returns are not indicative of, what other kind of government reminds us to say that. So the fact that we increase, and Gene Sunshine and Dan and others and Bob, I don't know what our compounded annual return, last time I looked, it was, I think, 9-10% or some number like that. It really is extraordinary. And yeah, it might go to 0 for the rest of eternity, but it's even higher than that, Gene? Even higher than that. It's truly remarkable, given the financial debacles of 4 or 5, 6 years ago. So we do just a great job. We did hear about this year as another fantastic financial return year. So you know that when you invest money in the university, it's going to grow. And I think you know that we're going to spend it for really important things. our great provost, Dan Linzer, is the architect, along with others, Marilyn McCoy, among others, in our strategic plan. And if you look at the 4 pillars, discover, figuring out transformative investments in research and in associated teaching, integrating the classroom experience with life outside the classroom, connect, building a greater sense of community in a place that already is known for great community, including reaching out more effectively to alumni, parents, and friends, and engage more and more effectively with Chicagoland and global institutions. And if you look at that plan, I think you could see that it's not a plan that is thinking we need to take a whole new path. You know, Northwestern is firing on all cylinders, if you will. You know, we were talking about the yield numbers for undergraduate admissions. You know, we're now one of the most selective places in the world. We had 32,772 applications. We only admitted 4,554. You do the math, it's below 14%. The world has discovered, you know, if there was ever any confusion about are we in the Pacific Northwest because we have this strange, misleading name, Northwestern, or whatever, the world has discovered us. Recently, Times of London ranked us as the 19th best university in the entire world, whereas almost everybody above us is much, much larger. Even in the Big Ten, remember, with 8,000 undergrads, the second smallest is Nebraska with 19,000, and then Iowa with 21,000, and you go all the way up to Penn State with 36, and the Ohio State, where we will have the definitive victory on the 5th of October on the ABC national TV. They have 38,000. So, you know, we're small. You know, our annual budget seems big, $1.91 billion, but in fact, compared to peer institutions, we're, you know, compared to, you know, Ann Arbor or even Harvard, we're half the size. So to be thought of as 19th in the world, to be considered not just for our graduate and professional programs, but for our undergraduate programs as one of the great institutions in the world is pretty heady stuff. But we've done it because of people like yourselves, you know, people who have invested in Northwestern. I think we've been good stewards financially, but also programmatically, as Ken pointed out. And I just want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for the faith and trust that you've shown in us. There's so many things you can do with your financial resources, but to trust Northwestern is really humbling. And I can just tell you on behalf of Dan and Jean and Marilyn and Bob and other people in the senior administration in this room is that we take your trust incredibly seriously. And I can pledge to you, we will make you proud. We really will make you proud. And you know, I stand on the shoulders of Henry Beenan, and he stood on the shoulders of Arnie Weber, going way back. And we've had a group of remarkable leaders. And again, I'm humbled that I'm the 16th president, but man, I've devoted my life to it. I love the Midwest. I love Northwestern University. I love the athletics. I love the performing arts. I love the science. I love everything about this, and I know you have too. And because of your confidence in us, the sky is absolutely, the future is unlimited. So with that, Bob, I don't know if we could have, Ken, maybe some questions and answers, or do you all want to get back to work so you can earn more money to give to your beloved Northwestern? I don't want to, I can write notes. You know, please excuse Ken from Deloitte today. He is busy with his beloved alma mater. I'm happy to write those notes. But maybe we can take a couple. Camille, where's Camille? Oh, hi, Camille. We have time for a couple of questions and answers? You said yes, but you look no. What is it? I see that. I've been married for like 30 years. I'm used to that expression. Sure, Mort. No. Okay, so we have time for a question. Any brave souls? Yeah, introduce yourself and bring it on. Yes.
I'm Jeff Ruttenberg, Kellogg 71.
Fantastic.
Do you view Northwestern's peer group as Big Ten schools, or do you view Northwestern's peer group as more of the academic peers that aren't in the Big Ten?
Yeah, good question about what is our peers. We actually talked about this in the undergraduate context. The Big Ten is a group of great research universities. You know, there are only 60 U.S. members who are members of the Association of American Universities, the great research universities. 150 of us call ourselves research universities. There are only 60 of us who are certified as such by membership in the AAU. The remarkable thing is with the expansion of the Big Ten to 14, 13 of the 14 of us are members of that group of 60. So they're great research universities. So when we think about hiring faculty and staff, and we think about the competition, the ever-growing competitive nature of getting funded by the National Institutes of Health and other sources of great science research, we definitely think of the other AAUs, and again, and they're disproportionately represented as members of the AAU. It's very different for undergraduate admissions and for graduate and professional. Some graduate programs, we do compete head-to-head with the University of Michigan in particular, but some of the other Big Ten. For undergrads, that's really no longer our peer comparison group. If you get into Northwestern and you get into Iowa or Nebraska or University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, or you get into Madison, or you get into Ann Arbor, these are great publics, but our yield against them goes from between 85 out of 100 to 90 out of 100. So they're not real competitors anymore. We were talking about this at the table. Why? It's really hard to graduate in 4 years now with the reduction in state operating subsidies at most states. And therefore, even if there was a price disadvantage, it's completely wiped out by the fact that you graduate Northwestern in 4 years and not 5 or 5.5. So that's not really the competitive group. But if you're really thinking about undergraduate, then we're clearly head-to-head. A very big head-to-head is University of Pennsylvania. They still beat us in head-to-head, but we're making some progress. And we're talking about, they have the Ivy Halo, one of the 8 Ivies has an automatic advantage. And for some people, even though they like to talk about Midwest values and all that, they're a little afraid of the Midwest, and they like to be on the coast. If you're talking about business schools, then obviously, HBS, Stanford, increasingly Booth, and certainly Wharton, are major head-to-head competitors. But, our peer group has shifted a little bit in terms of, again, undergraduate admissions. We worry a little. WashU is great. University of Chicago is probably even better. These are great schools, but our head-to-heads are increasingly the top Ivies now, including the Big Four, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and Stanford, although we still have serious overlap with Georgetown, with Duke, with Notre Dame, and with a number of other institutions. So, as we continue to move up the hierarchy of American higher education, it makes it tougher because the competition is greater. The opportunity cost of taking yourself off the market, for example, and applying early for undergraduate admissions now is greater because now these kids disproportionately have very high SAT, ACT, and high school GPAs. The last thing I'd say about this, the most remarkable thing is, as I said, we admitted 4,554 of our almost 33,000 applicants. This year, for the first time, we had over 5,000 kids who didn't get in, who broke 1510 on their SATs at a 1600 and had a 34, 35, or 36 on the ACT. So near perfect test scores, sometimes perfect test scores, but they didn't write the right essay, they didn't have the non-academic accomplishments, and they just weren't kids who we thought could contribute broadly to the Northwestern community. That's the kind of rarefied air of undergraduate admissions that some schools have been in for a number of years, and we're more recently into it. But that's how our peer group has been changing. Thanks for a good question. Yes?
Leonard, I live on Medill 66. What keeps you up at night? What's our greatest challenge?
Yeah, the greatest challenge, Leonard said, it's not in Medill. You're a Medill alum, and people always say, with the changing face of media, specifically print journalism, what's going to happen to Medill, one of the widely acknowledged jewels in the crown. It's morphed. It's changed. It changed its curriculum under John Levine. You remember all the public criticism we got from Columbia and our other friendly competitors, or not so friendly competitors in that case. 5, 6 years ago when we announced a new curriculum, now everybody uses that curriculum. So I'm not worried about Medill. I'm a little worried. Law school, we decided to shrink the size of the entering class. Dan Rodriguez is our new dean. He's an incredible guy, building on David Van Zant's inspired 16 years or so of leadership. But we sell ourselves in law school as the place that sends you into the large international firms. And we still lead the world in that. But if I remember correctly, I know Dan would know, I think about 3 years ago, we had 80% of our law school grads who went to the Sullivan and Cromwells and the Skadden Arps and all the great internet global law firms. And that led, and we still lead, but I think we're in the 50s now, like 50. Last time I think it was 58%. So that number is declining. So you don't want to be the leader in an industry that's changing away from you. So we decided to shrink the size of the entering class. Medical school is always a challenge with affiliated hospitals. In some ways, you sort of have responsibility over what they do, but you don't have authority over what they do. As Deloitte knows very well, that's the worst kind of management situation to find yourself. But we've made great progress under Dean Eric Nielsen, who's our new dean of Feinberg School of Medicine. We have a new deal, a new relationship with NMH and affiliated hospitals. But that keeps me up a little bit more than I ever thought it would. Athletics, the good news is whenever we win, we're David against Goliath, we get tremendous publicity. When we beat Mississippi State 34-20, as everybody knows, in the Gator Bowl, the New York Times 2 days in a row did half-page stories. The day after we won, the Wall Street Journal did a full page, two-thirds of a page story. But it sets you up. And all you got to know is what happens when anything bad happens at a Stanford or at a Notre Dame or at a Duke. All of a sudden it becomes a big story. In a way, frankly, when Bob and I were at University of Southern California, I was there 11 years, he was there longer, it wasn't a big story when they got in trouble with the NCAA. I mean, when they got into football and basketball trouble, it got some press, but it wasn't a big story in the New York Times, frankly, because they expect those big schools to get into trouble, and it happens. And whether it's Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State was a different story, incredible tragedy, but whether it's Auburn or Alabama or even SC. But when it's Stanford or Duke or Northwestern, it's a story. So we have 491 varsity athletes over 19 varsity teams. I constantly remind them that they are very visible. But they're 18 to 22-year-olds, and they do stupid things on the weekend. So I'm always worried that, it's going to be a Drew Crawford or a Kane Cody, one of our icons, or Alyssa Leonard and lacrosse, one of them, and all of a sudden it's going to be, oh my God, the excesses of sports. And so I worry about that, but I mainly worry about the health and safety. I worry about reputation and all that, but I worry about the health and safety of our students. We lost 3 students this year, 3 undergrads, and they're all tragic, and they're always tragic. And when you have 16,000 students, half of whom are undergrads, bad things are going to happen. But I worry about the pressure it takes for kids to get into our schools, whether it's at Kellogg School of Management or law or medicine or PhD or master's. But mainly I worry about the undergrads, who typically have a very different experience than we did. When I graduated high school in 1971, I can play different sports, not well, but I loved to play them. I didn't have my parents and coaches there in those uncomfortable chairs screaming at me helpful advice. You stink, Mort! Shoot more! That kind of stuff. My parents never went to a Little League game. They didn't have any, I was able to live my life without the intense pressure of my parents living through me. It's a different generation, and many of you know it as parents or grandparents. And these kids come to our kinds of schools, and they feel like they won the lottery because they got into the great Northwestern University. But they come here, they've never had any freedom. They've never had any responsibility. The parents half of them are anxious to pick the courses for them. They're never going to let them grow up. And, it makes it difficult here on the weekend, and we struggle with that. So what keeps me up at night every day is the health and safety. And, I live right on Orrington, corner of, Orrington and Central, right down from the provost. I'm sure he hears the ambulances on a Saturday night as well, because they go to the emergency room at Evanston Hospital. And, I'm a light sleeper. They go right by, typically, on Central. And, it wakes me up, and I just literally pray that it's not another crazy, inexperienced freshman coming from Elder or down from Allison or over at Bob or wherever, who did, 10 shots, a vodka in a row in a way, because he or she had never had any drinking experience before. So that's what literally keeps me up at night is this constantly worrying about the health and safety of our students. A week from tomorrow is Dillo Day. It's a great tradition. It's where we, Gene and I and others work really hard to build up town gown points, if you will, political capital. We throw it all away every year on Dillo Day, and we start the next day rebuilding. I mean, that's just the way it is. And, I know Patricia Taya-Servin or Dr. Taya-Servin are brand, year and a half old, vice president for student affairs. She's also very religious, and we literally hope and pray. that, for the safety of our students. So that's the major concern. Yeah, in the back.
You're thinking of health and safety for your students, and you're studying professional education and costs thereof. Do you ever think that you factor in the cost of dental education anymore for Northwestern?
Ooh, okay, a different question. I usually get a lot of that. So the question is the cost of dental coverage, right, for our students. Oh, dental education, to take care of themselves more effectively.
Revitalization perhaps outdoor dental.
Oh, it's that question. Yeah, I get those, everyone. That one I get occasionally. And people hear, it's funny that there's a series of, once a month I hear, you're going to reopen the dental school, or are you going to do this or that, whatever. And, I mentioned before that I stand on the shoulders of brilliant presidents who made tough decisions. And, I kind of feel like I'll make my own mistakes, not revisit any mistake or anything that went right in the past. So I've never really thought about that. I do have an old friend, Larry Backow, who stepped down recently after transformative leadership at Tufts. And when I announced I was leaving Williams after, it was 20 years, 9 years as president, the first thing Larry said to me was, that was really a bad financial decision to give up the dental school, because Tufts Dental School is enormous revenue. Not only does it attract a lot of sponsored research, but it attracts a lot of net tuition revenue. And he said that was really a bad decision. So, maybe you're right. I don't know. But I feel like that was looked after very carefully. It's been a long time. It's always, as part of the Black Tie Alumni Awards, one of the awards is not just the 12 schools we have, but we still have the school we don't have, dental. And whenever I hand over the award, usually the person says, bring back that dental school. I think that's why he or she accepts the award, just so the person can trash me. So anyway, I've heard it before, but I kind of feel like, some of you know how I'm blessed to have an incredibly close relationship with Henry Beanon. We have the same mentor, Bill Bowen, who's president of Princeton. So I knew Henry before I took the job, but I kind of feel like he made a call. It was a tough call, but if he thought it was the good call, it's probably, I assume it was. Sorry not for being more encouraging. Yes?
Care to comment about how the Williams experience helped you?
How my Williams experience has helped me. It's a little bit more, easier to transfer than I thought. I really did. I think that I remember how I struggled as a president after being a dean and a vice president. And the first time I was president, starting in 2000 at Williams, and I was pretty clueless about it. I didn't realize how much comfort I took for my years as a dean and vice president at University of Southern California, knowing that there was a president and I wasn't it. I went to funerals, I did all this stuff, but I never felt like it was ultimately on my shoulders. And when I first became a president, I really felt, a burden of it. And I don't know if I struggled, but it was tougher. So I think I've been a president 13 years now, finished my 13th year. So I felt like I got some experience in managing time and understanding people and developing a real empathy for whether it's undergrads or faculty or staff, alumni, what have you, townspeople. So I think I developed some of those skills that are transferable. I think I could be a better president. I always think I could do a better job, but the Williams experience was really invaluable. I'm never one to turn back or anything, and the fact that all three of my kids love Chicago, and my wife loves Chicago, and they all liked Williamstown. It's a small town, but when you live in a town of 8,000 for 20 years, as I did with one stoplight that usually doesn't work, it's kind of nice to be here in the North Shore, and it's a different set of challenges. Big Ten sports and all that, and so it's been a wonderful move for me. I feel, as I said before, deeply honored to have my position. I've taught so far 8 undergraduate courses in my 4 years, as well as doing almost weekly graduate lectures at Kellogg and at the School of Education and Social Policy. So I feel like I'm doing my teaching, and I still manage to keep my finger in some of my research, and it's just a great fit for me. And the last thing I'd say about that is the Midwestern values that I alluded to before. They're real. And my wife's from LA and I'm from New Jersey, and we never really thought, we thought maybe it was a public relations kind of thing or something, but to be honest with you, but the people are so friendly, so welcoming. There's a civility here in the Midwest, and there's a lack of entitlement here in the Midwest that I didn't realize how important it was for me as a parent and as an educator. But I just love that. That's my favorite thing about being here in the Midwest. And indeed, I think that the finest of Midwestern values are imbued in our students through their attendance here at Northwestern. So we have time for one more. Yep. No pressure. Make it good.
Undergraduate business 61 and 62. Mitch Daniels, the president of Purdue, and I know he sent a letter out to alumni and friends and so forth.
Yeah.
And the essence was the excess administrative staff in the university. And I don't know whether that's Purdue specifically or state schools or private schools. What's your take?
Yeah, if you didn't hear it, so the question, Mitch Daniels, it was the incredible governor of Indiana. A number of people wanted him to be president and decided not to run in the Republican primary. He's the new president of Purdue. I knew Mitch a little bit before, and we've since bonded as fellow presidents and chancellors of the Big Ten. He is just like in shock. You thought government was tough. Oh my God, he's a wonderful guy and just incredible. But man, dealing with faculty and everything, it's just like a whole other world. So I was with him at the AAU president's meeting in DC last month, and I said, Mitch, Purdue's so lucky to have you. It's just a remarkable opportunity for them. And how's it going? And he's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Are you tenured faculty, angry this, big time sport? He's just a riot. So he did put out a statement that you referred to, and he said a lot of things. One of them is that he was really going to look seriously with the decline in state operating subsidies to Purdue and, of course, to Indiana University as well, that he was going to look at the administrative bloat and the rate of growth of administration. Also, the president of Minnesota, University of Minnesota, also had a statement about that recently. So a number of the publics are looking long and hard. What does that mean for us? We've always been lean and mean, at Northwestern. If you look at the data and you look at the comps, usually whether it's student affairs or facilities management, and you look at the number, or certainly alumni relations and development, usually we're very much on the lean side. It doesn't mean we can't be more efficient. I am an economics professor, so we look at that. We look at it very, very carefully, and some of it. The only last thing I'd say is that Arnie Duncan invited me over for lunch. Secretary of Education. It was now in January, and we were talking about the growth administration because the series of articles about University of Minnesota had just come out, and he said, Mort, this is your field. You've been writing about this stuff for 35 years. What do you think? And I said, you know what I think? I think that a lot of government regulations are responsible for a lot of it, frankly, and some of it, I'm sorry to say, Mr. Secretary, is under the Department of Education. Now, some of it is health and safety and ADA compliance. Some of it's good, and some of it is mindless government bureaucracy. And it's a mixture of the two. So we have been looking at it, and we're looking at the growth and trying to figure out how much is really important, how much was by our own volition, and how much was mandated by the government. If it's mandated by the government, is it just a waste of our money, or is it really practical? Like most economists, I'm a free market economist. We were talking about this at my table before. I don't have a lot of confidence in monopolies, whether they're public or private. So, I think that the government got a little out of American higher education, then I think we could allocate our resources a little bit more effectively, to be honest with you. So I think we're done. Again, members of the Rogers Society, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We will try. I pledge to do my best with your financial resources, and I'm really completely humbled by your incredible generosity and love of Northwestern. Go Cats!
Wow, such a great, thank you so much. Those were wonderful comments. It makes me not even, why even get up after that? But just a few housekeeping items. And once again, I want to offer my sincere thanks to everybody for being here with us today. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time for me. Got to meet a lot of people I didn't already know and spend some time with some people that I've already met. We are going to be, for those of us who are going to be touring the library, there will be shuttles departing, actually, I think now, Amy, right? Well, okay. So we'll be okay with we're all right with the shuttle. I did want to mention that when we take the tour of the library today, you will see the Eloise Martin Reading Room, and it's just another great story of somebody, the late Eloise Martin, who dedicated her resources to the university. And so I'm excited for those of us who are going to be able to take the tour and see the impact that she made, and that's one of many ways that she impacted the university. Just want to make sure I have the right housekeeping items for you. The tour today, for those of you taking it, will conclude at 3. I mentioned we will offer shuttle service to take you back to the valet area, and that will conclude at 3:30. Right now, I just would like to invite you to enjoy your dessert, and the rest of the time you can spend with each other. So thanks again, and thank you.